listening to the Esq Marketing Podcast, hosted by Matthew Laurin, president of Esq Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Laurin, president of Esq Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq Marketing Podcast, where I feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq Marketing. We help firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. Today, we are not talking to a lawyer. We are talking to founder and CEO of Ideas 360, Suzanne Ratti. Suzanne has worked with Fortune 500 companies like Xerox and Smart CEO to develop complex sales and marketing strategies. She is the executive director for both Thrive Business Communities and Smart Women Professionals, an accomplished public speaker, and is featured in a variety of notable publications, including the Business Monthly, BizPeak Journal, and InDesign magazine. Suzanne, welcome to the show.
Hey, that was a pretty good list there. I don't know who you were talking about for a minute. You sure you got the right person?
Yeah, highly decorated. Let's jump right in here, Suzanne. You are not our typical guest. We usually have attorneys on the show, but occasionally I do have other business owners and marketers. So it's cool to have folks like you because it just gives us our audience a more in-depth look at marketing strategies and business strategies. So first question, what is Ideas 360 and what do you and your staff do?
So we are a sales and marketing organization. If you think about a typical marketing agency, we do all the stuff a typical marketing agency does. You know, everything that touches your logo or your brand, from websites to content development to graphic design, we do all of that. But the thing that differentiates us and really sets us apart is I have a 25-year history in sales. And so everything that I do is always focused on how is this going to impact sales? How is it going to align with the sales strategy? And how is it going to support the sales people and the sales team in their business development efforts? And so that's kind of a real differentiator for us.
Gotcha. And I like that too, because I've worked in sales capacities and marketing capacities, and it's the one thing that you notice instantly. It's like if those two components aren't communicating, they tend to flounder. So do a lot of your clients, do they have sales resources or sales departments that can work with you or work with the marketing component?
Absolutely. So, I've got clients that range from small organizations all the way up to, as you said, some larger companies. And, the thing that I've always found is that marketing and sales usually operate in silos. Marketing can put pretty bows on things and get you plenty of likes and followers. But the sales team is really only concerned about the quality of the leads and also how are those leads converting. And so the alignment of those two things is where we really thrive.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Yeah, very important. So take me back to the beginning when you started this business. What was that like?
I had been, like I said, in sales for 25 years, both as a producer as well as a number of different leadership positions where I had sales organizations reporting to me. And I just always struggled with if we had a marketing department at the time.
Yeah.
What were they producing? Because I needed it to focus on really important factors in my sales presentation. So if I was sending somebody something via email or if I was directing them to a page on my website, I needed to make sure that the things that I was finding were important decisions for the client or important pain points for the client were featured in those materials. And so after the first 15 years, what I basically found was that if I didn't drag myself into the marketing effort, I wasn't going to get exactly what I was looking for. So when I started Ideas 360, it was with that dual approach and, very much just serving clients that I had worked with over the years. Most of the clients that I began with were clients that I had either sold products to and they needed marketing assistance, or clients who maybe I had given them some marketing advice, but maybe they had some disconnects in their sales organization. And so they would call and say, hey, what do you do when this happens? We've got high turnover, or, whatever the problems were. So those two things are what really formed the foundation for the company.
Nice. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure your sphere of influence helped there. I like what you said about, missing components in what you were trying to sell for marketing. I feel like salespeople end up being like the janitors for marketing. Like marketing either put stuff out that they have to then support, to fill in the gaps in the story, or there isn't something out there that you want them to promote. So I can see why it's so important.
It's so key nowadays, because you have, if you can visualize your average sales funnel back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the sales funnel was largely driven by your sales organization. But about 10 years ago, what we started to see was that sales funnel shrunk, and about 60% of the sales funnel was actually being filled by marketing. And then the salespeople were stuck here at the bottom with whatever marketing filled it with. And so that's why the alignment between sales and marketing is so, so critical. And, one of my favorite quotes that I preach everywhere is, are you selling something or solving something? Because if your sales team is just selling whatever marketing is putting out there, that's going to be much harder to convert than if they're actually trying to solve a client's problems and they have the materials that explain how they solve those problems.
I saw that quote in one of your videos, your 360-second marketing videos. Is that what they are? The 360 seconds?
Ideas 360 and 360 seconds.
Yeah, I like those. Those are cool. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the funnel gets filled with marketing related stuff, and it's so important because if they're not filling it with good leads, then sales just kind of flounders.
Yeah.
So I work with a lot of law firms. How does your philosophy, how does that relate to a law firm? Because I mean, they don't really have salespeople per se, but I feel like a lot of it is still applicable because it's a business, right? I mean, they need to bring in leads. They need to convert visitors to their site or viewers of their marketing to clients. How does that sort of match up?
It's interesting because the legal industry has a lot of marketing firms just devoted to legal, and that's rightly so, because every single lawyer is basically a salesperson, whether they realize it or not. They're the salespeople for the organization, and so the marketing firms that I see that are really successful have that strategic alignment with sales and marketing. They have it. The law firms that I see that struggle a little bit are the firms that don't have either an in-house or an external marketing agency, or they're not really coaching up the law firm team on how to really solve problems. It's just driving fees, driving, that revenue. So, I think the legal industry is rightly entitled to have its own little niche marketing, sector. Yeah. And I think, every single lawyer is out there spending money to compete with every other lawyer. And so there's a big component of SEO, SEM, pay-per-click. That's the biggest part of marketing. And, as well as I do, you can spend a lot of money on that stuff with the wrong organization who really doesn't know how to drive the right type of leads. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think, you mentioned coaching in there, do you think that would be a wise use of time for a law firm? Like say obviously they know the law, they know how to deal with clients, but and the marketing part, is probably pretty easy for them. They can, find a marketing partner to help them out. But in terms of working with clients, do you think that's a reasonable goal to pursue, to get coaching on the sales aspect of their job?
I think it's the most missed opportunity in the industry. And I'm not, I don't want to call out names here, but there's plenty of organizations out there that teach you how to close. They teach you how to pitch.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about lawyers and legal advice is a very relational based business. And so sales in that relational role is really a nuance.
Yeah.
And so I'm not talking about pitching and closing and, all of that, but I am talking about sales techniques in a relational setting. I think that, 90% of the lawyers out there have never gone through any sort of relational sales training, and it's key.
Yeah. Yeah. And the majority of attorneys I talk to, it tends to be more of a, I feel like the profession sort of attracts introverted type personality in the beginning anyway. So yeah, I can see why that would be, a lot of them would struggle.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can make this parallel without offending anybody, but I work with some accounting firms. Same thing. There's a lot of introverted, not salespeople type groups in those firms. And there's another example. Go out and hire a business development person, because you're not going to have an accountant, be a bubbly, out of the box, vibrant. It's just not the stereotype.
Yeah.
So you got to know where your skill sets are, and if that's not your skill set, then make sure that you coach somebody else up to be that important component.
That's good advice. Good advice. So Suzanne, there's a lot of shiny objects in marketing. Obviously, like you Google how to do certain marketing things, and there's all kinds of, it's hard to cut through the noise, obviously. What's one thing that a business owner or a law firm or, just a regular business owner should focus on if they're trying to promote themselves? How do they cut through all that?
Well, the number one, you could get 10 different answers out of me on this, but the number one piece that I see people miss, and they don't miss this generally if they have a marketing agency, but they do miss it if they're trying to do it on their own, is their Google My Business listing.
Oh yeah, good one.
There a lot of times when I get a new client, that Google My Business listing is skeleton, and that's a huge opportunity. So that's number one. The new program Google's rolling out with the LSAs, I think, is another big one. And having a functional website, a website that actually has a good user experience, but also has great SEO value. I think those are probably my top three.
I'm surprised you said Google My Business first. And yeah, I mean, it's a free listing. It's, you can get like a ton of good exposure without a lot of effort just by claiming that and filling it out.
And most people aren't posting to it.
Yeah, they don't.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can post content. What is it, like 750 words of content or something like that every week? Yeah. So from your own experience and also wearing the marketing hat, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's thinking about going off and starting their own business? Maybe an attorney who's been working for a law firm, they've had some success and they kind of want to go off on their own, kind of just like what you did. Like you have that experience and then you went off on your own. What's the first thing you'd tell them to focus on?
I mean, obviously every business has to start with a good business plan. So that's number one. And when you do a business plan, you should be doing a really comprehensive sales and marketing strategy for that plan. And so I think that's number one, because so many entrepreneurs go out there without a strong business plan and they're winging it. They're doing what they know. It's, who is it? David Gerber and the E-Myth.
I just was thinking of that. Yeah. The E-Myth Revisited. Yeah. How the technician turned business owner.
Yeah. So that's probably the number one. And, the other thing is get a good mentor or executive coach who can be your sounding board with that, because you may think your business plan's great. You may think your sales and marketing strategy is ideal, but if you have a really well-respected mentor or advisor who maybe if you only meet with them once a quarter or whatever, that has been invaluable to me, is just to have somebody who's experienced and can say, well, wait a minute, this part of your business plan is really weak, or this is a great pie in the sky, but what's the real scoop? I think that's really important for somebody starting out.
Yeah, that's the best piece of advice I've ever heard on the podcast, because I have our CEO of our parent company as a sounding board, and then I know he uses like Carl Sakis coaching, and just any coaching service or anyone to hold you accountable is really. Everybody needs it. Everyone needs someone to act as a mentor or someone to hold them accountable for their goals. So that's good advice. So you've been listening to Suzanne Ratti, founder and CEO of Ideas 360. Suzanne, where can people go to learn more about your business?
Ideas360llc.com is the best way to reach me. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and obviously Google.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Suzanne.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the ESQ Marketing Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.